Hello everyone, this is Poohead189, and today I'm going to give a fairly basic overview of how birth signs and the stars themselves work in the world of Elder Scrolls, through a lore perspective. If you've played any Elder Scrolls game, you know one of the first things you do in character creation is that you have to pick a birth sign, which is the constellation of stars your character was born under. It's sort of like Elder Scrolls astrology, just with magical effects. Anyway, let's start at the top. Something that isn't explicitly advertised in the Elder Scrolls games, but is something you need to come to terms with, is that stars in Elder Scrolls are not the same things as stars in our universe. In our universe, stars are balls of hydrogen and helium that have self-sustaining gravity fields that float in space. In the Elder Scrolls, there is no such thing. In the Elder Scrolls universe, if you look up into the sky and see the sun or the stars, you're not looking at celestial bodies, you are looking into another plane of existence. Now, I won't go into full details because there would be a lot of names you might not recognize, but let's start back when Mundus was created, Mundus essentially being the Elder Scrolls version of the solar system. In that time, there were spirits called the Et Ada. Now, you recognize the words Aedra and Daedra, right? Being essentially the gods and the demons. Both are Et Ada, which essentially means they are spirits of varying levels of power. Now, the Aedra are the Et Ada that gave some of their power in order to create Mundus, and the most prominent and powerful of them are the gods and the divines of Elder Scrolls theology. The Daedra, in contrast, felt it foolish to give up a portion of their power and created their own realms of oblivion without sacrificing any of their strength, though of course their realms are often found wanting compared to Mundus in various ways. However, what we really want to talk about is the third group of Et Ada, those spirits or entities that were on board with the creation of Mundus before they found out about losing some of their power, and at that last moment, before the creation, they fled. The greatest of these was Magnus, now known as the god of magic. His exit created the sun, and the greatest whole in existence. The others, however, were his follower spirits called the Magicka. They, along with Magnus, broke through the realm of Mundus and fled with him back to the realm of Aetherius, the realm of magic and where the original Et Ada come from. So when you look up at the sky either night or day and see either the sun or the stars, you aren't looking at balls of gas, you are looking at the holes in the ceiling of the solar system, made by the ancient gods that fled just as the world was made. Now, this also means that these holes in the fabric of this reality is where the mortal races get their magic, as the winds of magic flow through them into the mortal plane. And so this also means that the placement of the holes made by the Magicka give off certain effects, just like how the flourish of a hand or a string of words can create a spell. However, it needs to be said that the constellations, though they represent certain shapes and give off specific effects, it is unsure if they give off such effects because of their shape, or if their effects are given because people believe it to be such. You see, in the Elder Scrolls, the schools of magic are abstract things created by magic users, like the Mages Guild and the Psijic Order, to help categorize and teach young mages or magic users how to perform magic. But there are no real schools of magic codified by the gods or nature. A spell summoning lightning has just as much in common as a spell of healing as it does with a spell that summons flame. Magic scholars only put the lightning and fire spells in the School of Destruction and the healing spell and restoration to help with their teaching. It is likely the same with the stars and their spatial composition. It seems very convenient that a constellation that looks much like a thief will give a user the power of a thief, especially since the very constellation's creation was not a pre-planned event by the gods, but the random flight of those Et Ada that wanted nothing to do with creation. And we do know that there are various effects in Mundus that are the way they are because of the desire or belief of the user, like Kim or even various magical spells, at least allegedly. Now, I will do a more dedicated video on the lore of each constellation in another video, but it would be remiss of me not to at least mention them here. The following list will be read from the UESP, and I'll provide a link below for you to check them out for yourself. Now we have the constellation The Apprentice, which is also known as the automaton to the Dwemer, or the dwarves, and it's a constellation of 11 stars which is in the night sky during sun's height. It is one of the mage's charges. Those born under the sign of the apprentice are thought to have an affinity for magic, but also a vulnerability to magic. The next is the Atronach, sometimes the Golem, known as the war machine to the Dwemer, or dwarves again, is a constellation of 10 stars which is in the night sky during sun's dusk. It is one of the mage's charges. Those born under the sign of the Atronach are thought to be natural sorcerers with deep reserves of Magicka, but that cannot generate their own Magicka. Next is the Lady. The Lady is a constellation of 4 stars, which is in the night sky during Hearthfire. It is one of the warrior's charges. Those born under the sign of the Lady are thought to be kind and tolerant. The Lord. The Lord is a constellation of 19 stars, which is visible in the night sky during First Seed. It is one of the warrior's charges. Those born under the sign of the Lord are thought to be stronger and healthier, although they are sometimes referred to as trollkin due to their innate weakness to fire. After that is the Lover. The Lover is a constellation of 12 stars, which is in the night sky during sun's dawn. It is one of the Thief's charges. Those born under the sign of the Lover are thought to be graceful and passionate. Then there's the Mage. The Mage, also known as the Wizard or Sage, or the Mechanist to the Dwemer, and the Witch in the Stars, or simply the Witch to the Reachman, is a constellation of 27 stars and the planet Julianos. Julianos, of course, being the god of logic and magic, which is in the night sky during the month of Rain's Hand. Along with the Warrior and the Thief, it is a guardian constellation, and its charges are the Apprentice, the Atronach, and the Ritual. Those born under the sign of the Mage are thought to have more Magicka and a talent for spellcasting. They are also thought to be arrogant and absent-minded. Next is the Ritual. The Ritual, known as the Laboratory to the Dwemer, is a constellation of 7 stars, which is in the night sky during Morning Star. It is one of the Mage's charges. Those born under the sign of the Ritual are thought to have various abilities depending on the aspects of the moons and planets. It is consistently depicted by most cultures as taking the shape of the Arbic Eye. After that is the Serpent. The Serpent, known as the Snake in the Stars to the Reachman, or simply the Snake to both Reachman and Redguards, is a constellation of 4 unstars which is not relegated to being in the night sky during a particular time of the year. Unlike stars, the unstars that form the Serpent move about the sky and do not emit varliance. The Serpent's motions are considered to be unpredictable, though they can be predicted to a degree. Sometimes it is deemed impossible, however. Those born under the sign of the Serpent are thought to have no characteristics in common except being the most blessed and the most cursed. Next is the Shadow. The Shadow is a constellation of 5 stars, which is in the night sky during Second Seed. It is one of the Thief's charges. Those born under the sign of the Shadow are thought to have the ability to hide in shadows. Then there's the Steed. This is a constellation of 8 stars, which is in the night sky during mid-year. It is one of the Warrior's charges. Those born under the sign of the Steed are thought to be impatient and always hurrying from one place to another. It is typically depicted as a horse. According to some, the Steed is prominent in the southern sky during the summer solstice. After that is the Thief. The Thief, known as the Hunter to the Reachman, is a constellation of 18 or 17 stars and the planet Arche, who is of course the god of the cycle of birth and death, and it is in the night sky during the evening star. It is a guardian constellation, and its charges are the Lover, the Shadow, and the Tower. Those born under the sign of the Thief are thought to take risks and evade harm. Their luck is thought to run out eventually, cutting their lives short. The Tower. The Tower is a constellation of 12 or 11 stars, which is in the night sky during Frostfall. It is one of the Thief's charges. Those born under the sign of the Tower are thought to have a knack for finding gold and opening locks. And finally, there is the Warrior. The Warrior, known as the Headsman to the Reachman, is a constellation of 30 or 28 stars and the planet Akatosh, which is the dragon god of time, which is in the night sky during Last Seed. It is one of the guardian constellations, and its charges are the Lady, the Steed, and the Lord. Those born under the sign of the Warrior are thought to be short-tempered and skilled with weapons. Okay, now finally we need to mention that there are also many unnamed constellations in the sky, but they have various effects of their own, or at least that is the belief of certain scholars. You have likely seen this in the leveling screen in Skyrim, when you wanted to upgrade a certain skill and had to connect various stars to do so. We should also note that while various scholars understand, or at least have a basic theory and knowledge of the creation of the sun and stars, Not many civilizations have capitalized on that with such sophistication like the Aelids, or the Heartland Elves that inhabited Cyrodiil before the Imperials did. They believed, like most Mer or Elves, that the world was made up of 4 basic elements, and that light was the greatest of them, most notably starlight. It's difficult to tell if they included the sun in that equation, however, either way, they created numerous Aelid wells, many of them made by meteoric iron, to gather the power of starlight, which is the light of Aetherius, into their Welkin stones, which are stones of meteoric glass. Welkin roughly translating to star children, by the way. This is how they harnessed much of their magic might, and it's why you see so many of their ruins in Elder Scrolls IV Oblivion, and why Welkin stones are great items to sell for expensive prices. Alright guys, I think that's about everything I have today on the Constellations. Again, I'll go into the various constellations in more detail, but I want to give a basic overview. If you like my video, I always appreciate comments and likes because it helps the algorithm. And if you want to subscribe, that'd be also great. I have my social media and my Patreon down below if you're interested. And as always, thanks so much everyone. Have a great one. See ya.